What's going on? Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. However you are listening, welcome. This is LoreForged, the podcast for news, discussion, lore, and more for Ashes of Creation. We are your hosts. My name is Jibs, and I'm joined by Cash.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, everybody. I checked my microphone today. It's working fine.
Oh, fantastic. And Sonny's here.
Today's word of the day, kids, is diegetic. Can you say diegetic?
That's a 4-year word there. Isn't that what they say whenever it's a college
Diabetes.
Like $100 word?
$100 word. There you go.
Usually, I don't. There's a reference of that $100 word. I think it was like a game show in the 70s or something like that.
Yeah.
Right? Like a Scrabble. People that play Scrabble. You ever met somebody that's like super into Scrabble?
Yeah, my wife.
Yeah.
Really?
My mother-in-law.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
She kicks the crap out of me and my daughter on the regular with Scrabble.
Brock T says my grandma had diegetic. She had to check her sugars.
Exactly.
Oh.
Yeah, I have a little funny thing about that.
The second Wilford Brimley reference today for
yes,
me.
I made a Wilford Brimley reference because I just put a video out, which I'm sure we're going to get to talk about. And I actually used the word diegetic in it.
It's true.
I felt super smart, but kind of dumb at the same time.
I had to Google what that was when it was referenced.
I gotta be honest with you. I had to Google what that was, and you don't get a lot of like English words by me on a first run like that. So like, I could not believe that they dropped that word just casually.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we mean this to be diegetic, and I'm like, what the?
You know who doesn't need to Google that word?
Yeah.
Steven, and I think was that Bucky? He easily responded like, "Oh yeah, it's not. We intend to be diegetic. Oh, so we're on a communal. We understand this
I get
word."
The feeling that this is like an internal word that they throw around a lot, and they're this is the development team that uses the word diegetic. I know these guys.
I love it. Oh, I love it. Oh, so gentlemen, how we been doing? Cash, what have you been up to? What have you been playing?
I've been good. I just finished. Actually, I did a couple videos this week, and I'm very, very excited about both of them. One of them we released today. It was a little more time sensitive than anything else, and it was basically my feelings on why I believe that Caravan PvP is going to be a cornerstone of Ashes of Creation gameplay.
Yeah.
So that was a blast yesterday. I had a really good time getting that filmed once I figured out that my computer was having RAM issues and why it wasn't firing up. I was like, excuse me, what? Okay. So I got that thing figured out. And then a couple things. I did get filmed and finished, and it's in the hopper, ready for release this next week, is the first episode of the Varen Chef. That is coming back. But what I also figured out is that sometime during the recording of that, I fell ill. I don't think I've ever used I've fallen ill in my entire life, but I just did right there. Yeah, man, I was like sick. Like I got done recording it and filming everything and going through the entire process and destroying my kitchen. And then I went to bed. I was legit, like I was sick, like I was gray. Yeah. So anyway, some antibiotics and lots of healthy food later and lots of water, and I am back among the living.
And time was important.
Yes. Yes. Time proved to be a very important factor in that, because it turns out time is required for antibiotics. So I feel much better now.
Good.
That was my week.
Very good. What about you, Sonny?
Well, I continue to play Kingdom Come Deliverance, which it turns out another guy on this podcast tested out Kingdom Come Deliverance, and he's like, why didn't you tell me about this game? And I said, I won't shut up about it. So you're just not paying attention to me.
That was also part of my week. I had to do it. I'm like because of Ashes, like I'm on such this medieval kick. And then of course, doing some of the Varen Chef stuff, it was everything's in the feel and the flavor, and then getting to create in like this space right here. Everything is medieval. So I was very excited about it, and I bought it and I dove into it, and I did not want to go to bed that night. I was like, damn, this game is a freaking sleeper.
Oh yeah,
So.
absolutely. It's one of the biggest sleepers I've ever encountered. It's an absolute AAA first-person RPG in the style of medieval Skyrim, and it just completely went under the radar for a lot of people, including myself. It was I tried it out a few years ago, and I've come back to it, and it turns out that it just works really well for what I'm doing with streaming while answering questions about Ashes, because nothing's really like time sensitive. You kind of get a lot of breaks, and I decided I was going to play it on hardcore mode, which is kind of punishing, but after a while you sort of get used to it. The biggest thing is that you just can't fast travel anywhere, so there's a lot of horse time just riding around, but also you don't get cardinal directions, so you're riding around your horse looking at where the sun is and stuff like that, and trying to figure out, you know, where on this crazy cool map you actually are. And I'll tell you this, when you can't fast travel and you don't have a compass, dark forests become a real thing. Like at night, that game is you just can't do it. Like it would be like if you just wandered into a forest at night. Like you just have no bearing on where you're going, and it really does pass that test. It's a great game. You can get it for practically nothing, including all the DLC. If you're interested in that game, just Google like Kingdom Come Deliverance sale, and you'll find someone is selling everything for like $4.
It's on Steam for $8.
Yeah, that's a good deal.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a crazy
I can do
good deal.
$8.
Like you cannot beat this game for $8. Like, and on top of that, I have quite literally been streaming this game now for months, and I just asked Carberus, who is our local expert in this game, about how much longer there is in this game, and he said something like more than half. So like, oh God. So I might be playing this all the way until it is time to, I guess play Ashes of Creation. I mean, that's really where I'm at. So
I think that's what we're all doing right now. Like we're all just like, what game are we playing right now until we play Ashes? You know, what game are we doing this week? Or
you're absolutely right. Like there is a part of me that just wants to find something that will coast me through, because when you look at the calendar, Q3 for 2024 is closer than we think. Right? Mm-hmm. This is July 1. Like July 1 is Q3. Now, will it release on July 1? Some people think it will. And that's just a few months away. It's crazy how close we actually are to getting our hands on this game. And we are not one of the lucky people that were able to take part in the alpha, but we saw a lot of them in the gameplay that we will talk about in just a little bit here.
Alpha 1 anyway.
Yes, Alpha 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Well, Alpha 2, we're coming for you.
Yeah, we are. Absolutely, we are. Well, everybody, thank you so much again for Push and Play, hanging out with us here today. This is episode 25, gentlemen. I don't know if you know this, but we're 25 cents old now. So we got that working.
25 cents old.
25 cents old.
The weirdest mannerisms.
It's better than 2.5 decades old.
2.5 decades. 25 cents old. Yeah. Got it. Yeah. All right. No idea.
It's good for radio.
Does that feel old? I don't know.
Unsure. Not decided.
You are a professional. Get denominations correct.
Oh, it's so good. Oh, man. Well,
currency is not a unit of time.
Oh, man. Well, again, everyone, welcome in. And so this week on the show, we are talking Ashes of Creation's Valentine Day giveaway. That just came out at the time of this recording. And also, we're going to be doing a complete roundup, and I think that's kind of what everyone here is waiting for. Doing a roundup on the dev update for January, and that is Caravan PvP. So, gentlemen, it's coming to us from AshesOfCreation.com. Ashes of Creation Valentine's Day giveaway. So, quote, do you smell that? No, it's not Cash. It
do
must
you smell what the Steven is cooking.
If you smell.
I smell like a mountain spring. Thank you very much. Thanks to Dr. Squatch.
Ooh. So natural.
You smell like antibiotics and you know it.
Oh, it's so good. Well, it must be February because love is in the air, fellas. Make sure you don't miss that date. To all gentlemen listening, alert. Valentine's Day is coming.
Alert.
Alert. Set an alarm. You're welcome.
By the time this show comes out, you will be several days closer to getting in a lot of trouble if you don't get your wife some stuff. So
That's right.
do it.
That's right. That's right. So to celebrate this romantic occasion, Intrepid wants you to give you all another chance at winning Alpha 2 access. So for everyone listening, here is how you enter. In order to participate in the event, all you have to do is head over to the official Ashes of Creation forums and share your, quote, cutest, most heartwarming, and funniest text you can think of for some candy hearts. Bonus points if you can relate to Ashes of Creation. So here's how you do it. Once you're on the forums, by the way, you're going to want to submit in this format. So candy heart number 1, topic is cute. You have 100 characters on each of these, okay? The second topic is heartwarming, and the third one is funny. And you have until Thursday, February 8th. So for those of you listening on release day, you only have a few days left. Winning submissions will be spotlighted in their Valentine's Day post on Wednesday, February 14th. We should submit something. We should do a thing.
It would be fun. That would be fun to do that. Actually, we should submit some of our text messages between us three. Nope. Come on, Sonny. Nope. Just let it go. Just let it happen. Okay.
Nope.
You know, the funny thing about this is they said submit your cutest, most heartwarming, and funniest text you can think of, but they didn't say between who. So
where are you going with
where
that?
Are you going with
do you
this,
have,
boss?
Yeah.
no, what I'm saying is that we can probably put some of our text message debauchery in there.
Again, nope. I stand firmly by my initial nope.
Is that a red flag?
Come on.
Is that a red
love
flag?
you guys.
Almost for sure.
Almost for sure a red flag? Okay.
But what if I love both you guys? Brother's got a
Gotta hug.
Out there.
Sonny, just make sure you have bunk beds in your freehold, okay?
Yeah.
Have more room for activities.
Separate rooms. We're adults. We can get separate rooms. I think this is a good idea. This is a lot of fun. I think that we should do something in our community where we put up like a submission and poll.
There you go.
And then we figure out like 2 or 3 we're going to submit. We are big fans of crowdsourcing our stuff from our community. It tends to work out very well for us. That's how we got the Sleepy Owl, which we love. And, so this is just one of those things. I love that they're doing something like this. This is fun. This is easy. This is easy points with the community to have some fun while people are waiting for the Alpha 2 release. And frankly, this is the kind of stuff that that community managers should be doing, right? Everyone's in a happy place. Everyone's in a good mood. So why not do that kind of stuff here? So I'm excited about this. This is gonna be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I love when they do fun little things like this. Like you were saying, it's just the fun little things that makes the world go around sometimes.
That just means it's just a big reminder that I have to go out and find some tulips at some florist someplace, which can be difficult to find in SoCal this time of year.
Well, I was covered in snow and ice, so it's also difficult to find those here.
Oh yeah.
It's
So let's
important.
not be complaining about your 70 degrees down there.
Yeah. Here, Kelly, I just want you to know that I love you. I got you some tree branches.
Salt.
Bouquet of
Road
snow and salt and twigs.
I got you some salt and some bad decisions. Here you go.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good. So anyway, everyone who's tuning in, make sure you jump in on that. Get yourself some Alpha keys. That'd be awesome. You can join us in the Alpha too. That's going to be a good time. So, gentlemen, it goes without saying the real reason why everyone is here, why we're here today, and that goes for the dev update we just had for January, the Caravan PvP update. I really don't know a great way to open this. But Cash, you just came out with a great video on this Caravan PvP system. I know there's a lot of things that stood out to you. What'd you guys think on this?
Well, I'll make no bones about it. Like, I think everything that we do, because at least a couple of us are relatively simple-minded, we start with low-hanging fruit, like every time. Sonny, you're the freaking mayoral candidate. You know you're not the simple-minded one, okay? It's Brother Jibs and Brother Cash.
You may continue.
Oh, thank you.
That's my boat.
That's okay. I'll kick you in the nuts at some point during the show. So.
No doubt. It's coming.
But yeah, like we usually like to start and just kind of get the stuff out of the way. But I really think that the some of the things that stood out to me right off the bat was just the visuals continue to just impress, especially for an unoptimized game. I'm very, very impressed. One of the things that stood out to me right off the bat, and actually Sunny and I were streaming during their showcase, and I remember at one point just going like, dude, look off in the distance. You can see the raid party down there.
And I didn't notice it until you pointed it out to me. I was like, what? Right. And you're like, no, they're like down there. You can see them. And I'm looking at them and the little tiny guys are moving around. I was like, you gotta be kidding me with this.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Like they were sitting in this valley and it looked like it was like maybe morning time. And there was like this very light haze or like a light mist in the valley. And you could see them silhouetted like on this rock outcropping, probably 200 yards from where Steven was standing, you know, as the crow flies. And it was fantastic. I loved it. He started moving towards where everybody was, because obviously they had some diabolical plans that they were going to execute. But what I did end up seeing is when all of the character tags started popping up, he was probably about, I don't know, 50 game yards away, maybe 50 meters or something like that away. And they all started to pop up, and then we started to see some familiar faces, and we were like, oh my God, that's so cool. Like we knew that they were going to need a lot of people to pull this one off. It's PvP. Like you're going to need a brick of people.
Right.
What faces did you see?
We saw Vertec in there. We saw Cat Stevens, a bunch of names from the forums for sure.
Yeah.
Like I was like, oh my gosh, I remember you. And then later on, we saw Chibi. She was on the receiving end of that hell they unleashed. I felt so bad. I was like, oh my God, poor Chibi. So I remember too, because I knew it wasn't live. I knew that portion of the showcase wasn't live. So I messaged Chibi, like right in the middle. I was like, I see you. And then I said, oh, I just saw Vertec too. And I asked Vertec, I said, and if you guys don't know Chibi and Vertec, they're pinnacles in this community, and they both run the Golden Feather podcast over on their channel. It's fantastic. But I asked Vertec, I said, you did not have anything to do with harming your wife, did you? And he said, you saw it here first. Intrepid made me do domestic violence. I was dying. I thought that was funnier now. So anyway, that was like low hanging fruit just for, you know, some fun content creator stuff from what I saw there. But yeah, like I'm not going to lie. I got stuck into the Ranger thing as soon as I saw the Ranger camo.
Yeah.
And with that, I'll pass it on, because otherwise I'm going to sit here and gush for another hour and 15 minutes.
JB, what did you think of Ranger camo?
Oh, I mean, it was exactly what we wanted to see. And I remember distinctly us talking about the show, and we had hoped that it was something like the Predator style of camouflage, where it's not transparent, but just kind of has that somewhat translucent feel to it. And that was exactly what it was. And it was so just like, yes. It was a moment of just, yes. It was perfect. I mean, that's exactly how it needs to be for the Ranger. It was perfect. You could still see the outlines when you were looking up, you know, from like the Chibi Bree down in the valley, and you're looking up and you're seeing, you know, everyone that's standing there. What's kind of funny is there was one guy who was not stealthed. And so it's like, hey, everybody, we're up here.
Yeah.
It's like,
how's the caravan going?
Yeah. That was so good, you know. And so like,
you guys have stealth?
Yeah.
He takes a leaf and puts it in front of his face.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, it was so funny. So, but everybody minus that one guy, minus Craig up there, you know, like everyone was stealthed up, and it looked perfect. That's exactly what it should be. It shouldn't be as great as the Rogue, but you know, that range stealth was just perfect, and it held. The cool thing was that they held that stealth until the ability fired off, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I didn't see a timer on it, for one, on camouflage, And the other big thing that I noticed, and I actually went through and I slow motioned it. I did it in my video that we released today too. I did a slow motion of all those timed snipes, and it's like as soon as the arrow leaves the bow, that's when you pop out of stealth, which is fantastic because that entire channel that you have to do, the charge you have to do in order to, get that thing sent is long. Like it's a longer, I wouldn't say it's a long cast time, but it's a longer cast time to get that thing off. And for good reason. Like that thing is going to thwack whatever it hits, and it's going to cause a lot of freaking damage. So there was that. And then the other thing in relation to that was how I was pretty impressed at their tactics when the poor dude that they were targeting just got vaporized. And I was like, oh, like guy's all excited, be part of the caravan thing. And all of a sudden he finds himself back in town at the node.
Yeah, that guy went to Adams. He got hit by like 9 snipes at the same time and just was gone. Dude's like, Bob has left the chat. He's gone. It was a lot of fun, and it kind of highlighted, one of those things that everyone wants to do with something like that, right? Like, is there a better spot than high up on a bluff in your long range camo? I thought that the conversation about camo was very appropriate for the Rangers. It's exactly what we wanted, which was, we don't want a perfect camo system. We want something where if you are a long way away, you really should have a very hard time seeing these people. And if you're close up, the game is over, right? That's how a Ranger should work, is you just get enough camo at distance that you can do this kind of tactic. And that's exactly what happened. Was they were at range, they were waiting for it, and they fired it off all at once, which was great coordination and super fun to see that kind of thing happen. I will say this, that no, I'm not going to say this because we're going to get into that in a little bit. But sorry, Cash, you want to?
Right as you said that, Snow Elf in chat says, I'm pretty sure his game uninstalled from that Ranger game.
He went to like a blue window screen at that point, right? I'm done.
Yeah. Womp, 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 womp.
I'm going to pack it in and become an accountant. It was beautiful. I think this gets into the larger question now. After you saw that opening, was a lot of the caravan type of play. And when we saw the caravan, we'd seen this kind of before, right? Like the caravan looked like the caravan. It looked gorgeous. And then you had a bunch of people attacking it. But we saw improvements to the whole thing, or at least changes, right? When they destroyed the people. And this is important to say too, like it was designed so that they would win that fight. Okay. A lot of people are like, oh, those defenders didn't have a chance. Well, they didn't have a chance, not only by design, but by literal game mechanics. They said that they tuned those guys down. They reduced some of their abilities, effectiveness, all sorts of stuff. They were going to lose that fight. No question.
Are you saying it was rigged?
It was rigged. It was Digstown all day. There's just no way that those guys were going to make it out of there, and they didn't. And so then you have the caravan, which is on fire. And what did we see with the caravan on fire, Cash?
Oh, we're going to totally nerd out on this too, because the last caravan live stream, the fire never went out. And Steven was saying the devs were just sitting there talking about mechanics and all kinds of, important stuff. And Sonny and I are just like, somebody gonna put that fire out?
Someone.
This is a guy's life's work. Protect life, property, and the environment, please. But it did. Like this time, it went out. And Sonny's like, no, it didn't. And I was like, dude, it went out. It's just smoke. We, looked over, and sure as heck, they had made that change to where once the caravan is destroyed, all the crates and everything fall off of it. It's on fire, and then it looks great when it's on fire and there's smoke. Like, it looks fantastic. And then it just kind of died down. Then it was just smoking, and then it stopped. The one thing that I would like to see, and I hate that I did see a little bit of negative in this part. I would like to see that caravan damaged. Like, it would make sense, and maybe like that's the next progression of what they do. What they do for the visuals in this system. But if you have something that gets arrows in it and completely destroyed and axe marks, and now it's on fire and all this stuff, it should look like it's mashed up pretty good. So
yeah, I think that it could have done a little better on that front.
Right.
That is one of those things. You don't say a lot of negative things in your video. That was one that I thought could have room for improvement. It was overall, it was just a fantastic release. But like when you're finding things like this, they're really nitpicky. And this is one of those things where they have done such a great job with the attention to detail on everything else. Even going down to like the weight of things, which is another, like, gosh, every time you say something, you think of something that happened, but they're all these thoughts are like out of order, right? You have a caravan that's loaded up with gear, and then the gear falls off of it, right? So one of the questions that somebody had way after the stream was, well, what if I want to make decoy caravans? And they said, yeah, you can do that. And as a matter of fact, you can make a decoy caravan that behaves like a weighted down normal caravan by getting fake boxes.
Oh,
and
I love that.
I was like, what?
Wow.
Like,
that's
what?
attention to detail right there.
Oh, yeah.
Because the caravan, the attention to detail on the caravan is that it looks like it's loaded when it is loaded.
Yeah.
Right? If it's not loaded, it looks like it's not loaded. So how do you create subterfuge if you can see this? Well, you put fake boxes with a bunch of bricks in them, right? And I was just like, that is amazing. So
weight physics, and like, imagine being that good at being a scout for caravans and just going, that's the faker, that's the real one.
I don't think I don't think you would know.
I don't think we're going to know until it happens, right? Like, until we're actually able to see it. Someone's going to figure it. This is the scene in The Italian Job, right? Where they're measuring the distance off of the load on the little tiny sports cars.
Yep.
Little
Mini
minis.
Coopers. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, those are cute. Those are so cute.
That's
So anyway, they blow up the caravan. The fire goes out. Thank God. They just like, I'm so proud of the Riverlands volunteer fire service. They're really up in their game. We really appreciate it. We like to think here that the developers are listening very closely to our podcast and making changes related exactly to what we're asking for.
Oh yeah.
So we saw that one, and you are welcome, Ashes community. That one's on us.
Oh my gosh. It's so
Thank God that
ridiculous.
fire didn't spread.
So anyway, the boxes are on the ground, and then they have a choice, right? So do you want to talk about what their options are now with all of these boxes on the ground?
Yeah. Yeah. So those boxes on the ground, one thing I really liked was how you kind of had that, as far as the loot is concerned, the commodities and the material crates. And I liked how each one had the kind of like that different logo, a different emblem, letting you know, hey, by the way, if you see this symbol, that is a commodity versus a material crate.
Did you know that you could put both of those on the same caravan? I didn't know that.
Feel like we'd seen it, but I'm going to be honest, I had forgotten about it if I had seen it.
It surprised me.
Yeah.
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 I thought you could put anything, like if you want to put a box of rubber ducks on there, you can.
I guess so. So, yeah.
That'd be a really good dummy one, I'll tell you that much. Like, oh my God, these rubber ducks. You know how many arrows I used on this stupid caravan?
You know that's going to be a thing.
Yeah.
We went through this massive war. There was a whole army for nothing but a bunch of bricks and rubber ducks.
And dirty socks.
And dirty socks.
Whose laundry's on this thing?
Does this?
JB, I'm going to lead you into the next thing because I know this was a big thing for you. So they end up getting the crates. By the way, if you open the crates, they're worth less, which I thought was a cool addition, right? So you don't know what's in these crates. So you're taking a risk right there, like your risk reward meter is going crazy trying to figure out whether or not you want to open these things and just take the stuff out. But they go down the path, and then they have a tactical choice here. They can either continue down the road, or they can do what?
Go on a boat.
What'd you think of the water game?
Oh my gosh. So
He liked it.
I
think
feel
he
like
liked it.
people in our community at LoreForged know me better than I knew myself about this game. Like, it's no secret I love pirate stuff. I love the ocean. I love the sea. But I really thought, I really genuinely thought before this dev update, like, no, you know what, guys, I do love that thing, but I don't know that's going to be that thing for me. And then I saw the dang ripples in the water, and then it's just, you saw the caravan transform into a boat, and I'm like, I'm on a boat. Oh man.
That's my boat.
I knew right then. I knew exactly what I'd be doing. And it's me on a boat all the time. It just, oh my gosh, the physics are great. There's so many things about it I know we're going to cover, so I don't want to jump ahead, but my goodness, it was great. Cash, what did you think of that? Because that looked good.
I loved that very, very much. That is something that we wanted to see from the last caravan update. It was specifically, we were like, the only thing that we really missed out of that whole thing was seeing how water transport is going to work. I think that they really, really nailed the design of that. And it takes some time. It should take some time. You're basically, I don't even know, like, if it, within the mechanics, like if you're building a dock system, or if you're just dismantling your caravan and turning it into a raft, because you can see like the parts start coming off of the caravan, and then the parts start appearing where the raft is. I really loved the way the whole thing worked, looked, and then once it launched, like, to me, I know it was only a raft, but it looked like the freaking Titanic, coming off the line. Here comes this thing, just the physics into the water and a little splash, and then the thing just kind of settles out. I was very impressed with that. Steven was the first one to the raft, and the swimming mechanics are looking really, really good. And then he climbed aboard. He didn't World of Warcraft jump onto the raft. He literally climbed aboard, and I
didn't even think about that. That's exactly how that happens, right?
That's how they do it. Like there's a box jump or something in the water waiting for you to jump off of. But no, it was literally a climb, and he climbed up onto the raft. I was very, very impressed by that. There was a point in it, and I cover this in my video too, is there's a point where that raft stops. And you're just looking at the dynamics of the water and the design of the water. And I think what they were calling water shaders, the new water shaders or something like that. Sounds like they, ordered like an extra part and it came in, and then they did that. It's like, whoa, that looks really good. Whatever water shaders are really badass. So thank you for that. But just kind of stopping to take the time to look around and see how the river looked, how the dynamics of the water looks, how the boat operates in the water. And then they started talking about the currents of the river and the waterways. So, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so the boat, they had a moment where they were stopped and they were talking about the currents. And if you looked really carefully, now I'm still not sure I believe my eyes on this thing. But when you looked at the boat in the water, it appeared that when they stopped moving, that the boat slowly floated with the current, because you could see the land behind it, and it moved just enough that you'd believe this is what a big fat boat would look like if it turned off its motor, right? And it just is coasting along. Now, Cash said that he believes that if you go the other way on the river, that you will actually go slower up the river. I don't know. We didn't see a lot of evidence of that because they didn't do it, but
they did mention it.
They did mention it, and if they're doing that kind of stuff, that is That is just like one more element of that question mark of whether or not to go by land or by river. It's like, is it upriver or is it downriver, right? Am I going to rip through the river here, or am I going upriver on this thing and a little bit slower and a little bit fatter a target for everyone?
And what if it's wide? Like if it's a wide mouth river, like is there only certain areas of the mouth of that river or certain areas of that current that is going to be moving faster than others? Another thing you're going to have to scout out before you launch your caravan.
Yeah, that would be amazing, right? If you end up with basically like the equivalent of narrowed rapids almost, where you get to narrow areas and the current pushes you through faster, and you get to wide open areas and it's more like a lake. You know, that is how rivers work, right? So one thing that I very much enjoyed, and this kind of pushes us further and further down the river, is that you couldn't just dock this boat anywhere. You couldn't just beach it in the forest,
right?
You know, on a rocky outcropping, and everyone's off and we're loading the caravan up right here, even though this doesn't make any sense. No, they said, and they did, that you have to find an appropriate landing for this caravan, for this transition to take place, to build whatever it is that has to be created for that. And so that was it's not predefined, but it's geographically capable of handling that kind of transition, which I thought was fantastic, because now you can potentially say, like, think of how many like Lord of the Rings or books that you've read where like, well, they're going down the river, the next place to catch them is at the Brandywine Crossing, right? Like,
yeah.
These are the kind of things that happen in role-playing games, right? You know that the next reasonable stopping place for wherever this thing is going is down at X point, right, and no earlier. So I thought that was super cool.
And my question to that is, and I have another thing here I want to follow up with, but my question to that particular point is, are those landing points going to be something that are marked on the map? Or is that also going to be part of your preparation? Are you going to have to try and deploy a raft at a certain area? You're going to have to, try and deploy your caravan coming out of the water at a certain area so you know which ones you can do it at? Or is it going to be marked? I
think that's a great question. I think ultimately, I don't think we know yet, but I will say this. I think it truly will benefit any community, any guild, to have somebody that is their thing. Learning the waterways, understanding the ways of the water and Ashes of Creation, what each river looks like, where you can dock, where you can mark, make those notes, mark those things down. Because when somebody is able to know the waterways, think of how you can basically like almost treat this like a Mission Impossible thing, getting this thing out of here, the caravan out of here, when you have people stationed, people who know these waterways really well, people who can handle the rafts and know like, hey, I'm good here, watch out for me. You know what I mean? And so I think that's a great question. It's a fair question, but ultimately I think one of the biggest benefit to any community, any guild, have a harbor master, have somebody whose sole dedication is the water.
Don't give away all our secrets, dude.
Well,
this is going to end up being me, because I'm going to be the guy driving the caravan, right? And if you're driving the caravan, you got to know the map. You're the driver, right? And
you better know your stuff.
Everyone's trying to take care of you, and you might be asking them and telling them, it's like, we're not going to make it. We are going to stop at this place instead and get ready because we have to go like along this road. But you're absolutely right? Like, not knowing where those things are, and you could be doomed. Like you just are at a massive disadvantage with something like that.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so I have one more thing to throw at you guys about the water navigation before we move on. And this was a late entry, and I love this. One of the comments on our video, I threw it in there as a bonus question. Karen from HR, which I got a pretty damn good laugh at the name. Thought that was hilarious.
That's real. That's the real name.
Yeah. She says.
You've not met Karen yet.
This is from our YouTube. She says, side question: what happens if the caravan is destroyed in the water?
Floating crates?
Don't know.
It's
with
not on the
bricks?
wiki. Not even Lex knows the answer to this one.
Lex needs you to go
Yeah.
investigate whenever they're having those one-off conversations at the urinal or washing their hands. When
Yeah.
you know what's going on here.
Look, what if it ends up being, I didn't see anyone be able to dive, maybe you can, maybe that's how you get the crates. Now you got to like do a salvage mission like pirates, right? Like it's sunken treasure.
You're right. And I don't know of any heavy crates that would float. Like maybe the ones with the dirty socks in them. That's how you know the ones that are dummies and
With
the
the
ones
rubber
that aren't.
duckies. those
But,
are rubber ducky crates. Look at
like,
those things just float away.
How the heck would you get a crate out of the water that's not floating? Like the thing I was thinking, like, that's a fantastic question. I wonder if it's going to be maybe like Sea of Thieves style. And that's if it can even be destroyed. I would imagine it can probably be destroyed if the raft is targeted
Gotta
from the
think so.
shoreline.
I would think so.
Gotta think so.
Right. But does the stuff sink or does it Sea of Thieves style where everything
Look
floats?
at Nomad Tam in the chat. He's like, do the river currents affect floating crates?
Oh, that's even better.
They're
See what
just
I'm
going
saying?
down the river now.
Even better.
And you know what? Hopefully somebody, like one of the developers or something, isn't watching this show and they just like click off the stream and they're like, shit.
Oh no.
Oh, that's so funny. I want to make a real quick point.
Chris, did someone think about what happens if they destroy the thing in the river?
Hey, Bucky,
No?
we need you to take a look at this. I just want to make
I'm
a
sure
real
they
quick,
know.
I just want to make a real quick point. I'm not going to name the game, but I'm just very thankful that when we walk in water, you eventually swim in this MMO, and you do not walk with 80-pound weights at the bottom of the river.
Are you having a problem naming the game?
I wasn't going to be that guy, but thank heavens it's not New World, because holy cow.
I don't.
I mean, the
You're not like an
animation.
1890s naval diver.
Oh gosh, it's like I'm wearing a 500-pound suit in that game. No, in this, it's the animations on the swimming. You guys brought it up earlier, but the fact that how you climb aboard, it's an animation. And of course, they were boarded, by the way, in that stream. That's something we didn't talk about, was we didn't get to see it on stream. They had it off cam, but they mentioned it that somebody had boarded and they were gone. Like they got taken care of very quickly. And so I love the fact that that's a thing in this game. How are you going to play these caravan routes? Are you going to put people all along the pathway, or are you going to have people stationed tactically along these riverbeds? I mean, like the PvP in this game, I felt from like a standpoint of speed, of how quick everything was happening. I don't know what you guys thought, but I really wanted to pose this question to you in the show was, what did you feel about the pacing? How did the combat feel to you guys? Granted, they were, nerfed, the attackers were, but what did you guys think about the pacing?
I felt like it was fast. I felt like it was faster than I thought it would be. I know that this is something that they talked about, and they actually discussed like the pace, and they have an acronym for it or something. It's like time to death or something like that. And it is a real thing with MMOs, and it's hard to put a number on because it's such a feel thing. But if you feel like you're dying so fast, then it's frustrating and it's not a great experience. And if you feel like you live forever, that can equally be like a weirdly not good experience. And so that balance is just enormous. But to me, it felt a little bit fast. Now, the caveat to this is that Steven said, anything that's numerically based is the easiest thing to adjust. And he referenced this a couple different times. One of them was like the time that it took for them to build the caravan, right? He said, oh, do you feel like it took too long to build the caravan in the water, build the raft? He's like, well, that's the easiest thing in the world to change. We just speed it up, we could do that like that. I feel like if you dial up the damage or like reduce the health or something like that, that those are kind of balanced things. But to me, it felt fast. Did it feel fast to you, Cash?
It definitely did feel fast to me. And I hope that is a result of the nerfs that they gave the opposing team.
Yep.
Because they died very, very quickly. by design. And, you know, I fully understand why they did that, because they had some stuff to show off, and they had, you know, only a certain amount of time to do it. So they wanted to show a little bit of opposition. They wanted to show the smoothness of what PvP looks like when there's a lot of effects and there's a lot of people in one area, which was beautiful. I loved it. But I do hope that the time to kill is definitely more than that. So it's like, I realize that when you're in a PvP zone, there's not as much issues with death. You know, there's not as much taken out of you when you die as if you were just in the regular world and you either get attacked or attack somebody. So like, there's no corruption system effects going on there. But at the same time, it would be nice to see maybe a little bit more extension of that time to kill. I did think it was quick.
Yeah. Galwood in chat says, well, if you're outnumbered a group 3-1, they're going to go down fast. And that's a good point. Like, even if they weren't nerfed, you had 8 people on one character and they were all opening with nuked. Snipe. I mean, the combat,
he's gonna die.
Yeah, I mean, that's just how it goes, right? There's like, what does Steven call it? Well, never mind. But anyway, the point being is, like, I agree. I feel as though the nerf had not been there. I can't help but feel like maybe it would have been a little bit slower. I would like to see what that looks like before Alpha 2. I really, really would. Maybe in some kind of video. I don't know if that's possible at this point. I don't know what they're going to be doing leading up to Alpha 2. But I would like to see what normal pacing of combat looks like, what it feels like. But ultimately, you're going to have things that get beat. And that is when 8 people are trailing you with a single snipe. So, you know, like, that's ultimately that's it.
You know, and he's also said that this game is, I believe he said this game is not necessarily designed to be balanced with all classes 1v1, you know. So there is stuff like that, right? There's going to be kind of some old school MMO flavor to these sort of things. But I think that we all agree that it was a little bit fast, and we just don't know how much of that was related to the nerfing that was in play, because we do know that there was nerfing in play. So anyway, they get down the river. They manage to convert it back into a caravan as opposed to a boat, which was cool. Looked just as good coming out of the water as it did going into the water. And they managed to get to town. So they get to town, and now they have stolen goods, right? So this is an interesting thing that they've put in here. Cash, do you want to walk us through kind of what their options were once they got to town with a caravan loaded with somebody else's goods?
Yeah. So first of all, when one of the points to mention is that when that caravan was first destroyed and they started picking up that loot, a few of the boxes were opened, and then it was mentioned by one of the developers where they said, hey, if you keep those boxes closed, then that is going to be worth more when you sell it at the node or at a node. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Like, if you just keep everything intact, it's kind of like, you know, your old G.I. Joe. You want to leave it in the box. Do you know how hard it was for me to leave that in the box when I was 12 years old? It's going to be worth more if you just leave the stuff in the box. So I thought that was interesting. But once they did get to the node, there was a couple ways to do it. And one of the ways that they could do it was to take the stuff, which they actually tried to take it to a vendor that was right there. And the vendor was like going to offer them zero currency, like nothing. Like, no, I'm not giving you anything for that. So I would love to see that followed up with, you know, maybe if you try and sell stolen goods to a vendor, maybe that vendor says something in area chat to bring like guards. Like, hey, that stuff is stolen. I know that because Schnibbelschnob just, you know, showed up with a broken nose.
Can I then murder that vendor?
How far can we take this? Like Skyrim?
That's the next step in this.
No, but but at least so bandits that are pillaging the roads will have to use a little bit of discretion. And speaking of that discretion, it brings up this second choice that they had with that. And the second choice was to take their goods to a black market vendor because, of course, Stephen and his brigands knew a guy. So here they go down this dark alley, and they come to the back of this thing, and who was it? Who did they? Ophelia Blackwater.
Yep.
Ophelia
There it is.
Blackwater.
They found Ophelia Blackwater, which I just gushed over that name. I love it. It was so appropriate. But anyway, Ophelia Blackwater is in this small little vendor stall down a dark pathway in the middle of town. She was a black market vendor, and they were able to sell all of their goods to her for a pretty dang good profit, which I thought was it was really cool. Now, the important thing to remember about black market vendors is, in order to have one, you have to have a black market building. Well, that is not standard. That doesn't come standard with the Chevy, right? The Node does not come standard with a black market building. Your mayor has to make that conscious choice, or lack of conscious choice, to put a black market building in there. And I think that's a fantastic add to it, because it's going to introduce the ability for a mayor to have a seedy side of town, to turn the entire node into, illegal trade, smuggling,
Yeah.
all kinds of awesome stuff.
Yeah.
JB, this is the opportunity for you to build your own little Tortuga.
Oh my gosh.
What did you think when you found out that the mayor has the option to put a black market salesperson right in their city?
Sonny, I'm just going to tell you right now, you may be a mayor of a wonderful establishment.
Oh, no.
I may be a mayor of a Tortuga, because I'm going to tell you right now, the moment that was said, in my head, I just saw this vision of, I want to live on the water, learn all the pathways, learn the map, and I just want to sail the seas and be a pirate and do this, because, oh my goodness, it's perfect. It's everyone's Pirates of the Caribbean fantasy. It's everyone who played a thief in Skyrim fantasy.
You mean everybody, period?
Everybody stealth killed that deer and that NPC. If you played Morrowind, you killed the important characters by accident and couldn't continue your campaign. This is it right here. And this alone, the way that these features intermingle alone is going to be a lot of people's gameplay. This is going to be their Ashes of Creation experience. This is what they'll do, because this alone is going to breed such interesting. Try it
again, slower.
There it is. Hang on.
Use your words.
Interesting. There it is. Hey! It's very diegetic. All right.
There he goes. Now you're just showing off.
So, this is absolutely a group, two features really that mesh really well together. And I think you're going to see a lot of storylines on servers spawn from this. You're going to see a lot of chatter on forums because of this. You're going to see a lot of wars possibly because of this. So yeah, I could gush all day, Sonny, but I loved it. I really, really loved it, because it's the first time in a MMO that I have ever seen that I get to bring in single player RPG elements, a la stealing, black market goods, live, that I just took into a game full of people across the world. Oh, absolutely. It's a no-brainer. Cash, what did you think?
I feel like I'm repeating a lot of what I talked about in my video, but I don't care. It's just the way that I feel. I think that there's so many reasons why I really believe that this is going to be a staple of gameplay for people, even people who are not PvPers. I think PvEers might dip their toes into this pond because of how wide open the system is. Probably one of the biggest, without going through my entire list of things, I will hit on probably the biggest thing that I feel, the biggest reason that I feel that it's going to be a huge gameplay loop for people with Caravan PvP. It doesn't matter if you're a role player or not. If you are in a guild, which is probably going to be I don't know, just, throwing caution to the wind, maybe 90% of the people out there that are playing are going to be in some type of a guild organization, small, medium, large. If you are in a guild, there is going to be some level of coordination that is going to be needed for this. One of the things that I talked about was that the offline potential for planning, subversion, subtlety, spy work, because that is how you are going to find out where these caravans are. Unless you are out someplace adventuring and you just happen to be within the proximity of a caravan, that's like one of the only ways that you're going to know. You are never going to be able to rally your troops fast enough to get everybody you need and have a good plan. Have a good plan to be able to take that thing down. You're just not going to have that lag time. But the other ways of hunting caravans, just like I was saying, subterfuge, placing a spy in another guild, paying somebody off, bribing somebody to give you information of when and where a caravan is going to be moving, full on betrayal. Those are things that don't necessarily have to take place within the game. These are going to take place via Discord, via a text message or a phone call when you're in the middle of a business meeting, that every one of you nerds, just like me, is going to get up from the damn table and go, I got to take this. And you go outside and there's another guild leader going, hey, dude, such and such a guild is all over your zone. I just found out that they're launching a caravan tonight at 10 o'clock. Are you guys in?
Oh,
You see what I mean? Like, all of these little things are going to be taking place. You're not even logged into the damn game.
right.
That is going to be the draw with systems like this, where the mechanics are in place and the developers just go, make your own content.
Yes.
Yeah, the make your own content thing is a big part of this. For all of the things that you said like 100 different things, right? Like you said, the whole lives of some of these people that are going to be playing this game, and that had nothing to do with the economy. And all of these things are related to economy stuff. Like, you start looking at it from a different angle, and you're going to find an entirely different Venn diagram of people, right? So you think about the complex mayoral decisions of something like this. Like, what happens if I put a black market in my town? Like, what are the unintended consequences of doing this?
There it is.
Right?
Yep.
Have I now created a hub for a circle of bandits around my town, right?
Yeah.
Because they know that they can offload their goods there. Is that what I want? Is that not what I want? Are people going to stop trading legitimate goods there and only bringing in illegitimate goods? Or have I functionally strangled my economy by introducing this like target right on top of it? Will people just stop running caravans to my place because I've introduced a black market economy into it?
And think about how this affects those around you, those neighboring nodes, those ones that you may be allied with. You may have just introduced a ring of crime to them that they never wanted, never intended, and now because of your decision, there may be tensions that rise that may ultimately lead to war. You don't know.
Does a black market fence pay taxes? Are we getting money from the black market fence into the city? Could you effectively run a corrupt city like for bandits, but still have the resources to build out defenses?
Yeah,
Can you
because
build
there's
a
no
Tortuga?
There's no Federal Trade Commission.
It's true. It's
So we're
true.
good.
So, I mean, it's like legit possible that you could have a city that is built up for those kind of things. And you could have like an honest to God good versus evil fight, right? Like where we got to take out this city because the a-hole mayor keeps putting black markets up there and he's right in the middle of all our trade. Like they know they can offload their goods there. We got to take this thing out and burn it to the ground.
Yeah.
It is, these are the kind of like economic things that are happening with a simple decision like that, right? It changes the whole landscape of what the player's options are. And this is something that we talked about in the stream. We were live streaming this, and it's stuff like this, where if you have a game and you have a couple decision points for the players, then the players make their own type of entertainment, right? And I feel like there are so many in this game that the decisions are going to become so complex that we're going to find players doing things that we had no idea that they would do. Like, the level of creativity that you're going to see out of some of these people is going to be wild, because the Rubik's Cube has so many options on it for things that you can do and how this will affect, you know, the larger outcome. It's like an economist, right? You have a room full of economists and they will not agree on anything. And that's because it's so complicated. It's approaching that even in this game, like what the long-standing effects could possibly be.
Yeah, there's an interesting mention from Firebrand in chat. It says, if you make your node uber valuable to the underbelly of a Varen society, they won't want to see it destroyed. It's likely those players will help relay vital information to your node about possible incoming attacks, and even help defend it because it's making them rich. Mm-hmm. And like, I agree with that 1,000%. And like, transversely, some of that information that might get fed might be bad information because of moles and spies and spycraft. You guys, so I'm going to nerd out on this stuff.
Yeah. Look at Galwood. What if you start a city? What if you start a node near a node that you want to destabilize? Right?
Oh yeah.
What if you introduce crime right next door to a city that you want to destabilize?
And think
right? That's a fantastic tactic.
Agreed. Yeah. And think if that's an economy node, and the way that you stay in is, of course, by the money, right? Well, then let's say you're fed money behind the scenes from the underbelly that you have created, and now you're not only are you destabilizing, but then you're sending people to just deforest their area. Like, you're just picking away one thing at a time. It's crazy how a system like this, two systems, really, it feels like two systems, are blended together and make experiences like this. It's crazy to think that we're even going to be able to do this in MMO.
Yeah, and it's gonna just think of all these little things that are happening behind the scenes, and now all of a sudden you have a mayor that is going to need to start stepping up patrols around his node. It's something that small can start changing people's gameplay. Like,
yeah,
hey, so on and so forth. I'm sorry, but you just pulled guard duty. Like, we need patrols tonight because of this, and that. And everything is so interconnected in running some of these nodes. And imagine when these nodes get to Metropolis stage, the Metropoli, it's going to be even worse.
Yeah.
Just nuts.
Isn't it crazy how, like, so the moment that you introduce things like this, it's no longer about what oftentimes many modern MMOs are, and that's about getting to max and getting gear so you can go do raids and maybe queue up for battlegrounds, or maybe you feel like you want to work on achievements or exploration, or maybe crafting. It turns into where those things they're there, they're present, and you can do those things. However, it's no longer what's important. It's no longer the number one most important thing. The most important thing is the player created content that have been truly facilitated by features built into the game that leave it wide open. It just blows my mind. It's crazy.
It always has been that, right? Like, it always has been. The decades that we've been playing MMOs, the stories are always the player generated stuff, right?
Yeah.
The stories are very rarely the stuff that was handed to everyone, the stuff that, the big raid. It's always do you remember the time that we did this? Those are the memorable stories, and these kind of mechanics are allowing for exactly that. I want to talk a little bit about sort of a bigger picture approach to this particular dev release. it's obvious that we were big fans of this one. This one was fantastic. They've nailed a couple of these in a row. But I wanted to ask you guys if you thought that there were any improvements that they could make to something like this. Like, would take a critical eye on this thing. And what do you think, Cash? What comes to mind when you think of the word improvements on this?
I think one of the ones that we hit on was time to kill. I'm really hoping that was because the opposing side was dummied down a little bit for the auspices of the show, which I think is fine. So I just want to see maybe a little bit more of a struggle between both. You know, maybe see one person's health go a little bit lower and another person's health go a little bit lower. You know, just more of a more combat. I would like to see. I do think that in regards to the system itself, the caravan system itself, I like the improvements that they are doing to it. But like we mentioned earlier, like fire went out, still smoke coming from it. I'd like to see some visual degradation of the caravan when it is on its way down and when it's destroyed. Another thing that I would like to see is, instead of having that caravan just like spawn and then you move it next to the crates, I would like to see people literally from the party having to move each crate one at a time into the new caravan that's going to transport your stolen goods. I really would like to see that, because that does give the opposing team, the one that you just wiped, time to get back, which you're going to have anyway, but it adds a little bit more realism to it. And I think I just like that kind of thing. In closing, for me with improvements, I still haven't really fully understood what the highwayman system is, with the, being able to dive into that highwayman system and learn to be better at defense, learn to be better at running caravans, or better at attacking caravans. Sonny, I don't know if you dived into that. I thought I heard you talking a little bit about that recently, about knowing a little more about that.
I'm pretty familiar with the caravan system, at least as far as like what the wiki has, and the reality is that a lot of the people, this was my thing for improvements, was, what is the disadvantage to attack caravans, right? We're pretty sure that there is no corruption when you attack caravans, that it's an isolated system. It's designed to let people attack caravans. They're not going to make people corrupt and give them huge penalties for doing this, because they want to create that gameplay, and that's fine. And so some people said, well, the disadvantage is the highwayman system. And so a lot of people said, well, what the hell is the highwayman system? And the highwayman system is this concept that it's like a tiered approach on each side. If you can think of like a pendulum, where if you attack a caravan, you swing a little bit further onto the bandit side. And if you defend a caravan, well, then you swing a little bit more onto the sheriff's side. Okay. And there are skill trees on both of those sides. If you end up attacking a caravan one day and then defending a caravan the other day, well, this is going to be rough for you. You're not going to be doing very good, because neither side is going to be very happy with you. I don't think this is actually the answer to the question, though, what are the disadvantages? Because for the highwayman system, if you are attacking caravans, you're just going to get better at attacking caravans, right? You're going to be able to sense caravans further out. You're going to be better at that. Now, I guess there is a disadvantage that Steven said, where he said you're going to end up on the like the bandit boards, where people are going to know who you are. And that's all fine and well. But frankly, if you're hitting a bunch of caravans, people are going to know who you are anyways. On the defending side, if you're defending a bunch of caravans, you're going to get better and better at defending caravans, which is great. But that question does still remain for me. Like, what really is the disadvantage to hitting caravans all day long? Because even though it was nerfed, it sure did look like it's going to be hard to run caravans all over town. Oh, yeah. You're just driving a slow moving tank full of gold. It is gonna be a problem. They alluded to some, some nefarious actions you can do with subterfuge and putting fake cargo on and running decoy caravans. And you can run like whole convoys of like 20 caravans, and God knows what that would look like. You'd have like armies of people going through the woods. We personally, the three of us, have discussed this ad nauseum, that this is going to be a game that is played between the hours of 2 and 5 a.m. because that's going to be the time to run caravans, right?
Yep. Yeah, you're going to go to bed with a settlement, and then the node next to you is going to be a settlement, and by morning it's going to be a metropolis.
It's going to be a tent or a metropolis. It's going to be one of the two, right? Like, I don't know what that is. I want to see more of that. I want to see that highwayman system, but I want to see what it looks like to a person who comes across a caravan. You know, like, do I just wait outside the town and just hit caravans all day long? And, you know, that's what I do. I just ruin other people's day. Those kind of questions still do exist for me. This was a great reveal on how that works. But I think there's still some questions like, how are you going to balance this? Or is it just going to be so unfortunate to have to feel like you have to run a caravan that it's punishing? I kind of doubt that, but you know, it is possible if they don't balance that.
Yeah, I think those are both really, really good points. You know, I think when I consider, I'm going to be honest, aside from seeing combat like in its true form, and it's true, you know, where everyone's the appropriate stats and everyone's really going at it, to get a really good feel for pacing for combat, because aside from that, I felt like combat was very fast, yes, but I felt like it was very good. I felt like when you were able to see these animations and things that was going on, it felt good. Like you kind of could see something there, like, okay, this is good. This is good. There's something to it. It's just like when we saw the Tumok video, and you could just feel like, oh, there's something with this game. You know, there's something there. I haven't seen it, you know, it's not to its full potential yet, but there's something there. That's how I feel about the combat system. I'm going to go back to the highwayman system that you bring up, Sonny. If there's any improvement, and this is really more of a wall of crazy, but I would really love to see the bounty system built into these caravan raids. Somehow to incorporate the fact like, hey, if you've been hitting caravans all day, your name should be on a bounty board. Your name should absolutely be somewhere where, hey, now you're absolutely my target. I'm coming to you as Mando does, presenting you with my little, what is it, the little poggle or whatever it is that they throw down on the table. Like,
puck.
You know, puck. Here's my puck. You know, like that. Because I think that is a system that really doesn't get talked about too much, and something that really could fit well here. Something that could flesh out, because look, I'll be the first to tell you, if it wasn't the oceans and the seas, the idea of the bounty system really sounds intriguing and feels like it would really fit well here. There should be a consequence. Aside from the highwayman system, there should be some kind of weight that is carried for your decision to raid caravans all day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a comment on this from Raka in chat. I have an idea on this. What if, as a successful attacker, you get blacklisted in the city the caravan was supposed to unload at? The guards will chase you, and villager NPCs will shoo you away.
Those guards
trade with you.
Oh my god, those guards are going to get good cardio, because I got a feeling there's going to be 1 million people going to get blacklisted from city.
That's rule number 2, bro. Cardio. Yeah,
that's right.
But I love that idea. I think that's fantastic. There should be some type of a negative consequence to it if you're going to go rogue in the field. I'm sorry. It's not like people aren't going to see you. There's an entire caravan of people that work their butts off for all that material, and they're trying to get it from point A to point B, and you are going to steal it and ruin their caravan and leave them there for dead? I have a problem with this. I want justice.
You know how big these groups are going to be, though, right? Like these caravan groups on launch day, especially, let's just say it's a streamer. You know that like that caravan's safe. It's good. It's good.
I know.
Wait a minute. We're streamers, and I don't think our caravan's safe right now. It's not.
This is one of those things where, like, I know that the bounty system will exist for PKers, right? For people that are killing other players, and that's fine. But people will take that same feeling when their caravan gets hit, right? Like, when their caravan gets hit, it is just as painful as them being killed while they're picking flowers. Like, they will have worked a long time to do this stuff, and when their caravan gets hit, I want a bounty on that person, right? Maybe you put it down a little bit. You squish it down, and like, you don't earn as many points towards the bounty system as you would if you just killed an innocent dude that didn't fight back, right?
Yeah.
But at some point, if you are just a constant bandit of caravans, like, you should be hunted. You should have like posters on the nearest town or the town where that caravan came from. Right?
Could you imagine coming into town and seeing your character's face and name on a poster? Be like, oh.
So good. Or seeing the guy and then looking at the poster and then seeing the guy.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa.
Wait a minute.
But it's stuff like that, right? Like, those are the kind of questions that still do remain for me, even after that much information came through.
All right. So as we get ready to wrap up, for the coverage on this, let's do a 0 out of 10. I'm going to start with Cash. 0, absolutely awful. 10, absolutely amazing. Where do you rank this dev update for January?
Oh man, I hate it when people put the screws to me like this, but
I know,
because I'm a fan. I'm a fan.
Absolutely.
I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem saying if I think, some things could be improved. How many improvements did I have? I say 2 improvements. I'm going to give it an 8 with room to grow, for sure. But I'm very pleased. If it launches at an 8, I am going to play the crap out of the caravan system in this game, for sure.
Absolutely. Sonny?
I'm going to give it a 9. I'm going to give this one a 9. I didn't give the previous one as high a score as Cash did. But I think this one, for me, was, I don't know how they would have had a better video than this. It was well planned out. It was well executed. They were using cameras. They were switching between viewpoints. It was choreographed in a way that told the story, but still felt like a game, like they were playing a game. They introduced, as they always do, a million concepts to us, like all at once. And they just generally had a good time doing it. It was a fun watch for me. And I think that they're really hitting their stride on this one. So I'm going to give it a 9. And that's high praise from me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to go with a 10. 10 out of 10 for me on this, aside from obviously the combat, but they preface that, let hey, these people were dialed, down. I feel like this was a very, very good showcase. The visuals look amazing. You talk about the reach that you see with the graphics. I'm forgetting the actual term, but how far you could see the view distance. You got to see great looking armor. You got to see great looking models, improvements to the water system. You saw it all. It was a complete story for me. I felt like this was absolutely just an amazing update. And I don't see how it could be any, I feel like I'd be nitpicking if I just kept, going at it, but it was a great update. So yeah, hats off overall. I mean, excellent. Absolutely excellent. Any of you guys have any closing thoughts?
Yeah, I can't believe that you guys made me out to be the freaking heathen in this one. I'm usually the white knight. I had the lowest score. I'm like, can I take it back? I'm sorry, Steven. I'm so sorry.
Next time you're going to be like, I don't know. I can't even remember what I saw. I got 11. 11.
Yeah, that was an 11.
Oh, that's so good. Oh, that's so good. Well, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in, for hanging out with us, pushing play here for the show. This was LoreForged, the podcast for Ashes of Creation. If you enjoyed your experience here, whether you're here at the live show or you're listening or you're watching it back, let us know how we're doing. Just taking a couple minutes after the show lets us know and other gamers like you if this is a show for them. And plus, if there's anywhere we can improve, we absolutely want to hear it from you and what you'd like to see on the show. So anyway, for every 5-star written review on Apple Podcasts, we will absolutely read your review right here on the show. But yeah, please take a moment, go to your podcast app of choice or even the YouTube comments and just interact and tell us how we're doing. We really appreciate it. You can always call us 516-875-1776. Try to keep your voicemail around a minute or less if you'd like to have it played on the show. And of course, you can always email us at loreforgedhq@gmail.com. Sonny.
You can go to LoreForged.com to find the links to all of our Ashes of Creation content, or go to YouTube where we have videos. Check out Cash's most recent video on the Caravan system, basically the dev update that we just spent an hour and a half gushing about. If you want a recap on that, he gives a slightly more concise version. This is also going to be the week of Cash because we are going to release a video with him talking about the music of Ashes of Creation, followed by another video where, God, what is the one on Friday? I've forgotten, like off the top of my head.
I think we're doing music next Friday. On Wednesday, we're doing the Varan Chef.
It's one of the two. We might do the Varan Chef on Friday and the music on Wednesday. Either way, you're going to get a double dose. You're going to get a double dose of Cash, and one of them is going to be the Varan Chef, which is fantastic. Chef's kiss.
It's the week of Cash.
It's the week of Cash. It's all things coming up Cash. Twitch.tv/LoreForgedHQ. That is where we do all of our Twitch stuff. We are continuing to stream and have good conversations about Ashes of Creation. So whenever you see us on, no matter what game we're playing, we are happy to talk about Ashes of Creation. That's why we're here. And eventually, just in a short few months, we will be streaming the Alpha 2 because there is no NDA. If you'd like to join us on our Patreon and become one of our owls, well, you can get all of our content early, including much more, which is the State of the Owl that we record every single month. And that's at patreon.com/LoreForgedHQ Cash.
Join us on Twitter or X. Jibs at JibsRL. Myself is at Cash Quests. Sunny is at U of Coruscant. Don't forget to follow the show at LoreForgedHQ. We have been having a pretty good influx. It continues into our Discord community. And we're having people pop into chat. Rogue C popped into chat the other night, and he's a newer member. And we just had a blast talking. And there's just a bunch of really good people. I even saw last night, I was getting ready to go to bed after working on that video. It was super late, so I know it was even later on the East Coast. And I saw one of our other newer members, Chief Koala, was in there playing games with one of our longtime friends for the longest time. And I was like, oh my gosh, man, like these guys are in there doing it. So yeah, just some really good integration with some of our real old friends and then some of the newer folks that are coming in. It's just turning into a really, really neat and fun community. I do want to welcome some newer members this week. Hijo de la Luna, which is a friend from our Twitch streams, joined us. Rocka D91, which we talked to tonight with one of their comments. Kat Snevens, who is also a content creator for Ashes of Creation and does lore, very, very good. Oracle the White, Ivan, Skip Knox, and of course we mentioned Rogue C. So come and join us, friends. It is a really good time over there, and we have lots of chats, lots of content creators popping in and out, which makes us really, really happy. So,
agreed. Well, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Have a wonderful week in gaming, and we look forward to seeing you next week right here on LoreForged. Take care, everybody.
Peace, love, and honeybees.
Safe travels, nerds.